Spiritual awakening isn't just recognizing that everything in this world is temporary. It's about living each day as if Christ could return at any moment. World-shaking events, much like the trials we cannot avoid, expose humanity's grip, or lack thereof, on reality. They reveal whether believers in Jesus will continue to trust and follow Him even when life feels chaotic and uncertain. God calls those who remain steadfast in faith and reality awake. When you hear the term awake, think clear-minded, alert, or even sober. Yet, in the Bible, being spiritually awake carries an even deeper significance. Those who are awake are not half-hearted, lifeless, or lacking inspiration. They take serious matters, God, sin, holiness, and joy seriously. But they are also humble and self-aware, quick to admit their faults, focused on the needs of others, eager to learn from the wise, and joyful in their walk. So, how can we become spiritually awake? True awakening doesn't come from focusing on it directly, but through prayer, consistent reflection on ultimate realities, and living as if everything God says is true. The Apostle Peter emphasizes spiritual alertness 3 times, each pointing to a deep awareness of spiritual realities. He passionately urges believers under temptation and trial not to be lulled into worldly, shallow thinking. 1. We have been redeemed by the innocent blood of Christ. Nothing awakens the soul more profoundly than reflecting on the broken body and deep suffering of Jesus on the cross. When Peter calls for alertness, he writes, "Therefore, with minds that are alert and fully sober, live out your time as foreigners here in reverent fear. For you know that it was not with perishable things such as silver or gold that you were redeemed from the empty way of life handed down to you from your ancestors, but with the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish or defect. We were not redeemed with wealth, but with the wounds of love. The sinless Son of God bore our pain, carried our sorrows, and was crushed for our iniquities. The Son of God truly came in the flesh, lived a sinless life for over 3 decades, endured unjust suffering, and was condemned, tortured, and crucified, all to bring us to God. His crown of thorns and the nails piercing his body penetrated the deepest layers of reality, promising life and healing to those who seek him and judgment for those who oppose him. Does your life reflect this hope and reality? The Son of God died for us? 2. The enemy seeks to devour us. The spiritually awake recognize they live amid opposition, chaos, and pursuit. They know they walk with Christ among trials and temptations. They understand that their relationships can become battlegrounds for spiritual attacks. Peter warns, "Be alert and of sober mind." Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. 1 Peter 5-8. The enemy is real, active, and relentless, seeking to undermine our faith, hope, and love. 3. Life is a spiritual battlefield. Living spiritually awake means recognizing that life is a spiritual battlefield, because it truly is. God provides believers with indestructible armor and commands us to wear it daily. Ephesians 6:11. The spiritually asleep are vulnerable to the enemy's attacks, distracted by trivialities, lulled by temporary pleasures, or drawn into subtle temptations. They fail to recognize that each day brings spiritual warfare, with the enemy seeking opportunities to consume their faith. In contrast, the spiritually awake remain vigilant. They discern habits or desires that may lead to sin. They distinguish between fleeting, temporary pleasures and eternal, lasting values. They firmly grasp biblical teachings and pray to resist dangerous lies. Most importantly, they stand on the victory Christ already achieved on the cross and in his glorious resurrection. Every step in spiritual alertness is a reminder of Jesus' triumph. 4. All will soon come to an end. The spiritually awake live with the awareness that this world is not the final destination. Peter writes, "The end of all things is near. Therefore, Be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray. 1 Peter 4-7. All suffering, trials, and temptations we face today are temporary. There will come a day when Christ returns in glory to renew all things and remove everything that does not belong to Him. That day will come like a thief in the thirsted night. 1 Thessalonians 5-2. And only those who are awake will be ready. Spiritual alertness means living every day as if Christ could return at any moment. While we don't know the day or hour, Matthew 24:36, we know He is coming back. This truth motivates us to love more deeply, serve more wholeheartedly, and pursue holiness more sincerely. 5. Awakening through prayer. Ultimately, spiritual alertness is sustained through prayer. Peter urges that our alertness should lead us to pray. Facing these spiritual realities, we cannot rely on our strength alone. We need God's guidance, protection, and wisdom. Therefore, be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray. 1 Peter 4-7. The spiritually awake are deeply aware of their absolute dependence on God. They pray not because they must, but because prayer is their lifeline. Through prayer, they rely on God to stand firm in faith, resist temptation, love sincerely, and hold on to hope until the end. 6. Wake up today. We may be spiritually asleep to varying degrees, but by God's grace, we can awaken again. Pause and ask yourself, what in my life is dulling my awareness of spiritual realities? What do I need to let go of, adjust, or surrender to God to wake up? Remember, awakening is not instant, but a daily journey of choosing to live in the light of truth. Prepare your mind for action. Live as someone redeemed by the precious blood of Christ, aware of the spiritual battlefield and ready to meet Christ in glory. May God help us to stay awake, not just to face today's challenges, but to live for the glory of His eternal kingdom. What distracts you from living spiritually awake? How would reflecting on Christ's sacrifice inspire you to live differently today? Are you prepared for the day when Christ returns? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's grow together in faith and alertness.